Hey, 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 hey!
It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to get crazy. It's gonna be loud. This is our house. We do what we wanna. We'll blow the roof up. Everybody's coming. It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to go down.
You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Life is not easy. Life isn't fair. It never was, and it never will be. A good life takes grit, because the best things in life come from hard work, sacrifice, resolve, determination, and perseverance. Because grit means never quitting. It means coming back time and time again until you succeed. So on this show, we talk hunting, we talk outdoors, we talk conservation, we talk family and life. We talk fitness, and we talk strength, strength of body, strength of mind, and strength of character. Prioritize who you are and who you want to be. Get gritty, because life isn't fair, and a little grit can make all the difference. Hello, friends. You are listening to the Gritty Podcast. Today's episode is about boots. I'm going to start the podcast with a video I made about the Crispi Nevada and my experience using it last year and the year before. And I highly encourage everyone to go and watch the beginning of this episode after you're done listening to it, because pictures are worth 1,000 words. And you can really see the boots being put to use and what I'm talking about. And then lastly, I was blessed to travel to Italy this past spring and tour the Crispi Boots factory. And my knowledge about boot construction and design increased 100-fold. I learned how a boot is made waterproof, and why so many boot makers fail at building a truly long-lasting waterproof boot. I watched Italian artisans hand build the boots, and I even got to build my own boots, assemble them. And I asked them why their boots are so comfortable out of the box, and they walked me through the factory and showed me hands-on what needs to happen in order to construct a boot that's comfortable on the first day you put it on. I had a lot of questions about leather versus synthetic. Everybody has a different opinion on this, but I find myself preferring my leather boots over my synthetic, and I wondered why. They answered this question. It's not that one boot is better than another. It's that each boot offers a different set of pros and cons, leather versus synthetic. Some of the folks at Crispi have been hand building boots for more than 30 years, and they know their boots. And now I know why I prefer leather most of the time for most of the situations that I hunt in. This podcast isn't just about Crispi, though. In a way, it's about all boots, and I think everyone will benefit from listening to it. You'll hear from people who have been building boots for generations in a part of Italy that has been building boots since before my parents' parents were born. Building boots is truly an art. Enjoy the podcast, folks. And if you like the show, please subscribe to our YouTube and iTunes podcast channels. And please take the time to leave us an iTunes review, as it helps get the word out about the show and helps the show grow. So that's it. I'm done talking. Here's the show. So I realize there's a lot of opinions on boots, a lot of guys that have their favorite boot, and more power to you. I think there's a lot of great boots out there. What I can say is I put these boots through the ringer, and these Crispi Nevadas, they've been phenomenal. I've put more than 2,000 miles on these Crispi Nevada boots. They say you should replace boots every 500 to 1,000 miles. So I've gone way, way over the recommended time on these boots. Pretty much got them almost 2 years ago. I've used them on every single hunt, every day hike I've done with Snyder. I've been all over from Prince of Wales Island all the way to, British Columbia. And the boots have been incredible. So they were comfortable out of the box, which you hear people say about Crispis all the time, but it's true. As you can see, the tread on the boot is pretty much worn away. The the rubber rand is starting to break loose, but still hasn't come loose. The boots are still waterproof. I even waded through rivers in British Columbia. I've gone through wet grasses, through muskegs in Prince of Wales Island, and the boots have never leaked on me, which is a big deal. Dry feet are critical to getting back to your destination with good, healthy feet. The laces are, as you can see, I tied knots in them. They're pretty worn out. They've been, but they've still held together even after the ends came all tasseled, undone. They've never ripped on me or anything. The leather's still holding. But they have been through a lot. Yeah, I've pretty much gone full Nevada. All right, folks. Yeah. Welcome to the Gritty Bowman podcast. I'm in Oslo.
Yeah, correct.
Oslo,
yeah,
Italy?
Supposed to be Mozart here. Actually, Crispi Nevada.
Oh, yeah?
But, close to us.
Say it again. Crispi
Nevada. Yeah, it sounds like crispy,
Yeah. My crispy, Italian is pretty much 0.
But you're getting better and better. The more
Yes, I'm well, and so we are in Italy, and we're at Crispi headquarters. We call it Crispi Sports.
Yeah.
As the official name, right?
Crispi Sport.
Crispi Sport.
Is the company?
Yes, is the company name.
The brand is Crispi.
And the brand is Crispi.
Yeah.
And, okay, let's go around this little table here and do a little introduction. I got Kendall Card here, and you've been on the podcast before.
Once. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it was a long
Nobody
time
knows
ago.
me.
It was a long time ago.
It was at first ATA show.
Yeah. And Kendall, tell us a little bit about you, briefly.
Briefly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just a guy. No, I work in the hunting industry, and obviously I work for Crispi North America. We call it Crispi US, and Mark, my business partner, and I are the distributors for North America for Crispi Hunting. We focus mainly on hunting, and then I also work with in another company, blackovis.com and camelfire.com. Grew up in Oregon, moved to Utah, and to go to school. Started skiing, climbing mountains. Used to hunt when I was a kid. Kind of gave it up for a while, and then it's in the blood. Can't get away from it.
Okay,
so that's
got it. And here we have
Federico.
I'm going to say this. Federico.
Yes. Marcolin.
Marcolin.
Yes, that's
nicely done.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it sounds a little bit American, Mark Olin.
That's why. That's why.
I can handle the American version. And tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, I was born here. We live in a small village. It's in Crispi Nevada. That's why. Then I will explain about the name of Crispi. And I was born 43 years ago. So I'm not really young, but I'm in the middle of my life.
We're the same age, Federico and I, which makes us like the ideal age.
Yeah. That's right.
Not too old, not too young, just kind of ideal.
Just old enough, young enough.
Yeah. And I started working here in Crispi 20 years ago.
Okay.
So I have not a lot of experience, but I have some experience in the shoe manufacturing. And I also like kind of love sports, and I started when I was younger doing different kind of sports like skiing. Like of course here is the country of the soccer, so I play soccer for several years, and right now I also run a bit, and right now I'm doing mainly bicycling, mountain biking. That's one of my favorite sports. I'm also I have a passion of the photography. So I'm following my hunting friends during the weekend and taking picture of them, and I love it.
And today we went on a run with you, Kendall and I.
Yeah, but you are running faster than me.
No. We got sandbagged. He played real modest, but Federico was very fast.
Wow.
Very.
We showed up.
Very in shape.
We met him part way, and he says, "Oh, my heart.
Take it
it's
easy
not
on
so
us.
Good. My legs are a little out of shape." And so we started going slow, and then before we know it, he's
Yeah.
Bounding down
It was
the
very
trail.
humble of him.
The Italian gazelle.
That's
we call
why
it.
I know the trails here. That's why.
That was a cool mountain bike trail that we rode this morning.
Yeah.
And and you told us you take that trail.
Yeah, it's
often.
quite nice going up, but also the downhill trails. It's all single tracks. But
Yes.
I love this part of the area.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And what's your relationship to Crispi?
Yeah, I'm part of the ownership, and I'm in charge on research and development of
Okay.
own product.
And so your father is the founder.
The founder, yes. He founded the company 43 years ago.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm one of the reason. Maybe not.
All right.
Yeah. Or the excuse. I don't know what to say. And so he's the founder. Is still working here, and he's taking care about the managing of the main business of
Yeah.
the company. I mean, and he's a kind person. He's a unique person, and you have met
Yes.
in the morning.
We've seen your father running around,
Yeah.
Alessandro, and he doesn't speak English. So otherwise I'd try to get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
But there'd be a little bit of a language barrier.
He's speaking German.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I didn't know he speaks German.
Yeah.
He does? Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I feel a little inferior. I speak Japanese, but it's been a while. But there's everyone at this company, especially up here on the upstairs, seems to speak multiple languages.
Yes.
That's not normal in the United States.
No, here, the people in the office speak mainly, of course, Italian, English, German, French, and Spanish. This is
Yeah. Why
a
not?
skill that we need.
We feel so inferior.
I know. When what was her name? Sylvia?
Sylvia?
Yep.
Doesn't she speak 4 languages?
Oh, no, that was Loretta that we went
Loretta?
to dinner with. Yeah.
Also Sylvia.
Oh,
Sylvia does
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
'Cause
multiple people
I
speak
thought it was-
multiple.
I thought it was cool that I could speak Spanish, and so I'm speaking Spanish with Loretta, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, and I know this." Okay.
And they speak them all well, so
Yeah.
it's very cool. And then to my right, I have the Italian mobster Guido. Guido is here, and introduce yourself.
I'm Guido. I'm in charge of marketing in Crispi. I've been working for Crispi since 8 years so far. I started here in 2010. Yeah. And, as said, like, I'm in charge of marketing. My experience here has been fantastic so far. So, I like what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Federico.
And do you?
Thank you, Guido.
Sorry.
And how are you related?
We are friends. Yeah, we are really
Okay.
good friends. Yep. And actually, we used to play soccer together back in the days. He used to be
I'm a
like a
forwarder.
really, a good striker. Yeah, wing striker, half wing, half striker.
Who was the better?
I was the better.
He's the best.
And I'm still the better. No, I'm joking. Yeah. I used to be a keeper.
Okay.
He used to be a striker. So
You can't
different
compare.
roles, you know.
No, you can't. Not
But
really.
on training, we used to compete each other, you know.
Yeah.
I gotta, gotta stop all your balls.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he used to say like, I gotta score. You know? I said, no. Yeah, these kind of jokes. But yeah, we are good friends since young age, basically. I actually love sport also. Yeah. I'm a bike rider. Yeah, push bike. I love running also. Unfortunately, I don't go hunting because I don't have enough time to do that, but I would love to. My father does. So I used to follow my father actually back in the days, on hunting trip, etc. And, I'm passionate of hunting as well. I don't know much, but I'm getting in hang of it. I'm trying to learn as much as I can of this sort of stuff. Yeah, no? I love boots. I'm really passionate of boots and shoes. So one of my passion too. Besides of biking and running and other sports, I love skiing, especially telemark skiing. I love hiking, climbing, and all the outdoor sports. So
Doesn't
I'm really
it seems that everyone here is very active.
Yeah, because we are really close to the mountains, to the Dolomites, so it's natural to have this DNA inside, and that pushes you outside doing outdoor sports. Probably the environment.
And we kind of make some jokes because the name Guido just kind of seems like a mafia name.
Yeah,
a henchman, like some kind of mafia henchman like name.
Which has nothing to do with Crispi, of course.
When people don't pay their bill, they send Guido down to extract a payment.
When I first told you were going to meet Guido, I think you were kind of really.
I thought at first it was a joke, but no, that's very. It's funny. But you learn English. You spent some time in Australia.
I spent some time, a couple of years in Australia and 1 year in New Zealand. Yeah. So,
you can hear it.
Got the answer.
So now and then, you can hear your English with the Italian accent hinted with Australian. It's
a melting pot of accents.
That's right. It's pretty funny. So, So I wanted to ask a couple of questions, have you on the podcast briefly, because this is my first time to Italy, and then to see a boot built, it was a very educational experience, and I came away with a lot of new knowledge on how it's done, and at least how you do it here. And I wanted to now I want to pick your brain and ask you some questions that I've kind of developed over the last few days. Yeah. And so before we get into like details on some of the manufacturing and the building of a boot, I wanted to ask you about sort of how did Crispi Boots come to be? How did your father and even before that, tell me about your father.
Yeah. Yeah, my father, as I told you before, was born in the 1943, so during the Second World War. Yeah, so that's a quite tough period for Italy, and he was born here in a house in the hills, and he lived there for 23 years, and then he decided to move in the area here, close to the center. And he started working very, very soon. Around he was, I think, 18 years old. And before he has attended a religious school, and in Treviso. So he had to spend the whole week in Treviso at that school, and was coming back.
And Treviso is a city.
At that time, is 30 kilometers far from here. Okay. So he had to. In some case with a bicycle, or some case with a car. Okay, but mainly was going down with a bicycle. Was staying there, then coming back during the weekend, not all the weekend. Yeah. So he had a quite tough story in the beginning. Yeah, and then
and you were saying that he didn't have electricity.
In that house, yes.
Yeah, up on the hill, the house.
In the countryside.
Was one of the last house here in the area without electricity, without the water. So they had to fix the whole things naturally. With candle, with And so
you have to be pretty resourceful if you grow up your whole life in a house without electricity and water,
especially when everyone down the hill from you has.
Plus, you're not going to complain. You're not the sort of person that's going to complain. Like when someone turns on a light switch and it doesn't, and the bulb ran out, they're like, "Oh man," Yeah, exactly. This guy's just grateful he has a light bulb.
Yeah, and then they were farmers, so they had cows, they had the grapes.
Okay.
And so they were working like that. They were a family about four brothers and sisters, and then the parents. And then in the end of when he was 24 years old, he moved down in the main center. He started working for a shoemaking company.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he worked there for several years, more than 15 years, more than 15 years, yes. And he was working the whole day, plus the evening.
Yeah.
And in the evening, he was doing another job for the church. So he was working some other hours. It was back home at 11 o'clock every evening. That's the history of him. Then he had at a certain time he take a decision that shoes was really really the passion that he had. He realized that. He tried to move doing another job, but he really understand that it was not his one. So he decided to come back in the shoe industry, and he decided to do that alone. He decided to found
his own company.
Yeah, and in that period it was was good for the shoe business because it was the middle of the 70s. There was the economy that was growing.
Okay,
and there was a lot of opportunities. And so he opened this small laboratory home. He said, I took the Fiat 500, that is a small car, out of the garage, and I put the machine for doing the shoe.
I remember him. Yeah, saying that all the time.
Emptied the garage and filled
Fiat
it.
500.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a popular car back in the days. A really small car.
So he pulled that out of the garage, put machines in there, and started making.
And one worker, a collaborator, and they start doing low-cut shoes for we call mocassino, which is casual, casual shoes. And then the business was going well, and so we start to enlarge the company with another room, we can say, not really
expanded to to another room,
and put inside, invest the whole money into some other machinery. And a new collaborator, and they start increasing the
bit
the
by
size.
bit.
And in the beginning of the 80s, he was looking around because he's more in the sales. He's he loves to talk to the people, to travel. And he realized that hunting was one of the market that was growing. So he decided to be the first to develop a hunting collection.
Okay.
So in the beginning of the 80s, he started to develop, and he has been able to do this first hunting collection for the Italian market. And then the company grows again. He had the chance to know a good collaborator like we had in the last few years with Kendall and Mark. And he is able to grow with the company and to penetrate some important market like the Scandinavian one.
Yep.
And we have been for several years one of the most the best brands in Norway. And we are still one of the best brands talking about the quality of the product, and we are also talking about the quantity that we are able to sell there. And in that market, we have been able to develop also another special line that is the telemark, telemark line. The telemark, is a sport.
Like cross
very
country.
well known also in US. You ski bending the foot and bending the knee. So and he started to develop also this new collection in Norway. We had a great success, but the hunting was always a segment that where he has put a lot of effort. So we were following not only the telemark but also the hunting segment in Norway. Yeah. And this has been for the entire life. I mean, hunting and of course sport, outdoor. But hunting was always a target for him. Special boots for special needs with a really good quality. We have no compromise on this product.
One of the first things I asked when I when I got here was, and I watched the boots being made, and I wanted to know why they're so comfortable the moment you put them on. And then but they also provide all stability and support.
Yep.
And traditionally, in my experience, normally when I get a pair of boots, there's like a break-in period, and you got to wear them for a few months, to get them to feel good. And that first couple of months, they're just not fun to wear. And then you slowly break them in, and then, quote unquote, they're comfortable and they're a pretty good boot. Well, with Crispi, they're pretty much comfortable for the moment you put them on, and then they perform. And I wanted to understand how you achieve that.
Yeah, it's a matter of more than 30 years of experience. The focus and the target of my father was always to think about a boot that was shaping around your foot, and not the opposite. In the period of the 80s, 90s, but also now, the shoes and the boots are quite strong because they have to look nice on the shelves, but when you put on, you feel that are quite solid, too much solid, so you need some breaking time in order to fit properly. With our shoe, we have analyzed this situation the last 30 years, and we have followed the thought of my father. And so we have created a comfort that is instant, and we call instant fit. That means that all the material that we purchase and we select, we test here and have not only a good looking, but have to have also a nice feel.
Yeah.
And that's the main point.
Yeah, you walked me through the factory and showed me some of the materials that you build. Like one of my favorite boots is the Nevada, and I've been wearing that. I put more than 2,000 miles on that boot this last year and a half, and I've really tested it. And from day one, it was comfortable, and throughout the last couple of seasons, hunting seasons, it's been very stable and durable, and it's done more than you could ask a boot to do. So you took me down there and you were showing me some of the materials that you're building this boot out of, and what the difference is in leather. Like, for example, just to take one piece of it, as I felt the leather, you were explaining how supple it was, yet durable and strong, and what part of the animal you're taking that leather from, so that you can get a boot that is comfortable the moment you put it on.
Yeah.
That's some attention to detail that I don't think that I haven't seen in other boots that I typically would try and use.
Sorry, the leather is one of the most important thing because we have a collaboration with the supplier that is very long, because we have developed the leather that we need. It's nothing that you can find in the market and all can buy. We have a certain process. We take care about the process. We want this kind of material, and the supplier knows that we want this kind of leather. It's nothing that you can find in the stock here on the warehouse that we have in the area. It's something that we produce, we produce only for us.
It's unique.
Yeah.
It's a unique leather made for us. Yeah. It's no other competitors or other brands that are using this kind of leather.
Guido, when you and I were downstairs building that boot,
yes,
I went through and I basically built my own Nevada while I was here to really get a feel for the whole process. Like, you can watch it, but then when you actually put your hands on the boot and you actually feel it and actually try to do what the builders do, which I can't. I needed Silvano there to help me the whole way. But as I put the boot into one of these machines that pulls the leather and kind of seals the upper to the bottom of the shoe or the boot, there was one section where the pressure on the leather on one side of the boot was a little more than the pressure on the other side. And so it put a little wrinkle in the boot and kind of, it went too far. And Silvano was explaining how even with one piece of leather, from one piece of leather to the other, there can be variances because this was an animal at one point. Yeah. The skin, the genetics, the whatever are a little bit different. And so as you build this boot, I can imagine with leather like this, I don't know that you could throw that into a manufacturing machine on an assembly and just let it just build itself, as you...
No.
Because the material it's like doing the same thing out of a handcrafted wooden bow, for example. Oh. You can't take the wood from a bow. As I watch some guys build it, they've got to use the limbs. The upper and the lower limb have to be from the same
piece of wood.
Otherwise, you get some variances. And I noticed that here. And so, why are the boots handmade? Why not just
industrialized?
Yeah, why not just put them in some kind of automated process?
The boot is your foot. If you have a look, is very complex. You see that there are 5 fingers. Mm-hmm. There are a mass piece. Then there is an instep. There is an heel. There is the ankle. There are many things that makes the foot 3-dimensional and very difficult to analyze, and and shaping also something up on the foot is very difficult. So that's why it's handmade. We need to use a semi-automatic machine, mm-hmm. or a really handmade job because of the last is shaped on your foot, and there is some 3-dimensional process that you can't do with a machine, because the leather is natural, the machine is a mechanic, and those are not working together. Mm-hmm. That's one of the main things. Then you need a person that has to be a technician, because he has to know, of course, the machine, but of course also how the leather will move.
Yeah.
And that's why the process is complicated, because when coming back to what you said before, coming back to the cutting moment, mm-hmm. we have the person that has to be trained in the right way, because they can't cut the leather all over. They can cut the leather only in certain places, and some pieces of the upper only in certain places.
Yeah.
We cannot put the cutting knives all over. So that's why in the process is handmade and is not automatic.
The other thing that was unique that I noticed was the Gore-Tex bootie that goes inside that keeps the whole thing waterproof. You guys took that bootie and you tested it in water, submerged it, and you can tell if it's got a hole in it or if it doesn't have a hole in it. And that process was pretty cool to watch. Mm-hmm. Basically you pump it with air like you would a tire or something, and you submerge it, and then it tells you, if there's bubbles leaking out of it, then you've got a hole in it. Yeah. But that bootie comes from Gore-Tex, and they do a lot of quality control around that. But what was explained to me was the waterproof, there are some requirements by Gore-Tex, because this is a breathable membrane. Mm-hmm. And so you must incorporate that into the boot while maintaining a certain level of breathability that's required by Gore-Tex. Yes. So you can't just seal it shut. You have to put something, you have to build it into it so that you maintain breathability.
Yeah, we got the gore, we cut the gore, we stitched the gore, we created the bootie. The bootie is breathable and waterproof. So what we have to do is adding materials that can follow the specs of gore, that is waterproofness and breathability. And for doing that, we have to test each materials to gore, and then we have to create a product, and we have to test the product with a special machine in gore, and then we can have the approve. When we have the approve, every month they will test some pairs in order to check if we are following their specs.
And so this bootie, you build it?
Yeah, we build.
You build it. You use the Gore-Tex product, and then you build it.
Yes.
Okay. And then when you build it in the boot, one of those booties had a hole in it, and it looked like, and I noticed this, like if you have a leather upper and you're walking through thorns in blackberry briars in Portland, Oregon, or in the Oregon coast, that thorn doesn't go through leather, generally.
Typically not.
No.
Absolutely.
But it could on a certain like synthetic boot, you could stab through that. If you went against the leather wrong. or against the boot wrong, and you'd puncture your gore membrane, and then you'd have a leak. But going into the build process, you know it doesn't leak because you test it.
Yep.
So at some point, when a boot develops a leak, it's somehow or another. And would you say, Kendall, that's the most common way, is it gets punctured by like a thorn or something?
It can. The one thing that this is my 4th trip to the factory, and the one thing I didn't realize, I mean, I'd worn Gore-Tex jackets and pants and other things, but the gore is extremely, extremely fragile. I mean, Federico showed me one time, just the most minor like hit, even a nick, without even puncturing the gore, can cause the gore to leak,
right,
or to be vulnerable. So one of the things that we initially, as Mark and I were learning about, boot building process was, well, let's put a tougher shell on the outside of the gore, in between kind of the outer synthetic material and the gore, to prevent any sort of puncture. Kind of a long answer to your question, but the result is gore requires that it maintain its breathability. So if you add a certain amount of product, or different protective layers, then that inhibits the breathability. So you have to maintain that breathability, and that's constant. I mean, even what we talked about, 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, you're saying that you're using different protective layers now than you were then. So it's a constant, build. But there are those rare occasions. Yeah, it's an evolution. There are those occasions where it happened to a boot that I was wearing, for example. We don't see a lot of that, but there are those occasions it does happen.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is as you test, as these products are used and you get them back and you go and you figure out what went wrong, you re-engineer it and move forward with more improvements all the time.
Yes.
And that's what all these years of experience have brought to the table. And you were showing us how some of these, like synthetic versions, how you're reinforcing them so that they withstand the test of time.
Yeah, that's the evolution is not only outside, it's also inside. Sometimes we renew the product totally inside. You can't see anything, but we are improving the benefit of the product without any touch outside.
Yeah,
that's one of the most important steps that we take every year, because we want to have a product that is the people that are using our product in some way to forget that they are wearing shoes. They have to do what they are loving to do. I mean, like hunting. If they are gonna hunting, they don't have to take care about the shoes when they are walking. Of course, later, yes. Yeah. But when they are walking,
they have to forget about having, about they are wearing boots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of the mantra that we have embraced, in North America, because the one thing we hear is, I had trouble with this, or this boot hurt me here. And I'm not saying, our boots are perfect for every foot, but the majority of the concept that we've gotten from Fede and his family is that you want to put it on and forget it. The last time you should, especially on a hunt, the last time you should think about your boot is when you lace it up.
Yeah.
And then you should just go focus on your hunt.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like instant fit and long lasting.
That's that mentality.
Yeah.
But it's the development of the boot. It's even in the short period that we've been working with Federico in the factory. It's interesting to see all the new concepts, as well as, like what you were saying, the inside of the boot that is continually developing. Yeah, and that's, from what I know about your father, one of the things we were talking about, Brian, is that sometimes when the second generation takes over a company or starts to become more influential, the second generation will. The old man, or he did it his way, I'm going to do it my way. But I've been impressed with you and the amount of respect that you have for your father, and the way that he's created success. You're continuing to follow that.
Yeah, of course. I have. I think that he is in a kind of visionary in the product, in the shoes. So that's why I would like to follow his focus. I would like to do my shoe, but I would like to follow his focus, because I think it's really important. We saw that he has paid back after 20 years or so. It's good.
It's awesome. Well, Guido, do you need to get rolling?
Pardon me?
Do you need to leave?
Soon, yeah. Soon.
Okay, maybe
yeah, still have
10
like
minutes,
5 minutes,
15?
something
Okay.
like that. Yep.
We can. Do you need to go? You can stay.
I can stay till
Okay.
some time.
Okay. Why don't we just have you, Guido? Tell me a little bit. Like, do you have anything you want to add before you go?
No, actually, I think Federico has explained everything, like all the side, the factory side and business side, and I'm impressed of. I was impressed, like the first time I came to Crispi and I met Sandro and Mr. Marcolin, and he's very, very a visionary of the business. He has a lot to teach, and I'm really, really happy to share, my skills and my job with him. Okay, and I'm really happy to be able to work with him. Apart from this, Crispi, I do think Crispi has a lot to show in the market. Okay, and we are all constantly working, constantly developing, constantly improving, and pushing boots in the market. I think in the best way we can, because we always focused on the, as Federico said, on fitting, on satisfying the final consumer, which is really important for us. And one thing I want to add is that as you have seen, Brian, it takes a lot of time to build a boot, to build a shoe. Okay, so think about what we have to do before that. Okay, which is like testing the products, not only the material. When you design a boot, okay, normally it takes at least 2 years to pop the boot into the market, because we need to test it a lot. Because we need and we want to give to the final consumer a perfect boot.
Yeah.
So it means like selecting the good raw material, as Federico said, like leather and textile fabrics, soles, midsoles, insoles, and it means like building this boot, testing the boot outside in the outdoors environment, and it takes at least 1.5 years, 2 years before getting the product in the market. Okay, we are really, we look forward to this all the time, because we don't want to make any mistake. Okay, so we are really concentrated and picky on this.
That's important.
Excellent. Well, Guido, thank you.
It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Yes.
And Kendall,
Yeah,
see
absolutely.
you then.
Thank you, Guido.
Thank you. See
Thank
you
you
later,
very much.
Federico.
All right.
Bye, guys.
See you later, Guido. So, so on that, like Kendall mentioned the part about, this first generation and second generation at Crispi, because really there is a change of guard taking place. Your father is kind of teaching you and handing over the responsibility.
Yeah.
And so how are you handling that?
Yeah, we are 3 brothers. I mean, I have 2 sisters with me. And we divided our job. So I'm in the research and development, the production side, and my sisters are in the sales. So we are covering the possible gap that we can have if we were thinking about only Alessandro. My father right now is in the accounting mainly, and will take care in the future also to this side. And I repeat that we would like to follow his focus, because it's really important. Of course, we had a revolution in the product in the last 20 years, because I was thinking in a different way than him, talking about the aesthetical point of view. But I'm
the aesthetic,
aesthetic. And but I'm sure that the comfort, the instant fit must be is a must in our collection. Also for the next future, we are not looking for a quantity, but we are looking for a quality product and a quality product collection. So we will take care about the all all small parts that makes the boot in a different segment compared to the others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kendall, you and I were talking earlier about, how long people work here. It seems like there are some employees that have been here a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed when he was introducing himself, he said, "Oh, I've been 20 years working in the factory, so I have a little bit of experience."
Right.
Like, we call those people experts back in the United States, but
It's a long time.
it is a long time.
Yeah. Can be better. No, I can only learn.
So
I can't teach now.
that's one thing that I wanted to talk about too was two things. One is Italian culture. What is it about Italian made that makes it? Because in general, when I hear Italian made, I think stylish. I think very elite product. I think it's a well-made product.
Quality.
Quality. Yeah. And so what is it about Italian culture that lends itself to that?
Well, but mainly we are Italian. Maybe that's the right answer. But I think that is the influence that was coming in the past with the invasion of the different culture coming here, like the Spanish, like the German, like different culture that was here and then quit but live here, people that mixed a kind of a culture, and right now we are unique in this with this thought. We are able to be creative, and that's really important. But in all the field, it's not only be creative and stylist. We are creative in the sales. We are creative as a stylist. We are creative in the production. So it's I think it's the main reason of why we are like that.
Yeah, when I built that boot downstairs, and we're in the factory, and we're walking from station to station, kind of working on the boot. Each of the people I met are like true artisans. Like they're artists. They're skilled builders.
They're craftsmen.
They're craftsmen. Yeah, it's
those guys know it's not. And that's when I remember when he was saying that they could produce a lot more boots. For example, some other factories will create more, but the processes that they do, you were saying some factories, for what you guys have 10 guys or 12 guys, for example, in the factory line, another factory would need 30 to 35.
Yeah.
And it's because the skill level of these guys.
The skill level that we have here, and also the mentality that we have here, permit to have a person that can do more than one job into the chain process, for example. So that's why we can be more efficient.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main reasons. And then we have the experience. That's another part.
Because when you see them grab the boot and do something to it in that build phase, they're fast, efficient. It's like a work of art to see it. And
they don't even hesitate, and they see those like you were saying that machine. So he's working, like you were saying, in tandem with the machine. The machine can't do it without the guy. And you notice that that leather got a little bit of a wrinkle, and it was because in the line they were building the Wild Rock, which is a boot for us in the United States. You were building a Nevada. Even the small differences in the leather required different pressure, different manipulation to shape that around. And the first go around, there was a wrinkle, and he started, no, we got to change this and move this. And he was also instructing. I don't know if you saw it. He was instructing the younger gentleman, Simone, how the why about it.
Is the new generation. We have already past the moment of the change of the generation of the collaborator in the chain process, and right now the medium average we have there is about 32 years old, and but if we think about 7 or 10 years ago was 55. Now we had
to train new people.
An important step, because we have new guys in since 3, 4, 5, 6 years, so they know how to do. But we still have a person like Silvano that is teaching them how to do, fixing some little details and so on.
Yeah, I mean, some guys that are even still, if you're calling them the new generation, and they've, like Mohammed, he's said 13 years he's been here.
Yeah, he's 13
13
years.
or 18?
He's my age.
Okay.
And Silvano's been here for
23
years.
Walter is 38.
38 years. Wow.
Jeez. Yeah, it's a long time, and it's not a big group. I mean, it's a small group of people that are skilled,
on
highly
the actual
skilled.
chain. Yeah. The other thing that was interesting is the proximity to this factory. You're saying it's not.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit of a change in Italy right now. Is some people are accustomed to commuting. Like in the United States, like I drive 40 minutes to and 50 miles to my work, and that's not really too far out of the norm. But here, I was talking with Simone. And I asked him, I said, are you from, like, right by? And are you close by? When he was leaving for lunch, he said, no, I live a ways away. Yeah, he lives in Oslo. 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers.
Yeah. He's like, I live so far.
I know, right? He's like, no, I have to actually drive a car, where some guys are riding bikes. So there's this mentality of
it's
working
a local mentality.
Working within your village.
Yeah.
Being a participant not only in the community, but within the
20 years ago, the people that were working here were coming from the village.
Yeah.
So 500 meters, 1 kilometer. Now you can find here people coming from, like Luca, that is coming 40 kilometers, 30, 40 kilometers far from here.
But that's not normal. Like
it's not normal, but it's starting the process.
Starting.
It's starting.
Yeah, and the village is you named Crispi. That's where the name came from.
The name Crispi is an interesting question, because the name is coming from the village that is Crispi Nevada with the E instead of the I. But the name is Crispi also because it's the saint of the shoemakers.
Really?
Yeah, San Crispino is the saint of the shoemakers. So that's why.
Interesting.
So it's coming from the religious previous life of my father. And that's a nice.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
I thought it was a family name when we first came over.
It is also, but at that time there was no marketing culture, so it was just thinking something different, because here mainly the company that was born in that years, they was calling with the part of the name and part of the surname of the owner. And it was mixed together.
Okay.
He decided to be creative, and he decided to think about this name, Crispi, because it was taking part of his previous part of the life and also the village where he was born. So that's why.
Wow.
Those lasts. So we talked about that. You mentioned earlier the last that goes into creating a shoe. Describe what a last is.
Last is, there are many lasts. I mean, last is a study, first of all, on a normal foot. Then you can have wide or narrow, but it's mainly is like that. And then the thought is also about the use, because you can have wide last.
So last is like a form.
Is the form.
Would you say that?
Is the form.
It's
Yes.
like a form
It's heavy.
It's the heavy form.
Oh, it's so heavy. It made my arm like want to drop off. It's a heavy form, like a brick, like a piece of lead.
It looks like it's plastic on the outside, metal inside.
No, it's only plastic.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's really dense, I suppose.
It's a very dense, and then there is some metal parts in order to.
It basically imitates the foot.
Yes.
And then you can build a boot around that form, and that form is really important.
Yeah, it's one of the important. It makes the difference, but it's also the form, the shape of the upper, the design, and also the foam in the back and the tongue on the side that create the comfort. It's not only matter of last.
It seems crazy, because how do you come up with? I mean, there's so many ways to like get the shape of a foot, right? And like you're describing, it's not just the shape so that it's comfortable when you put it on. It's also the shape of you have to get the form to serve its function as well. So if you're hiking mountains or cliffs, or if you're on a flat surface, or, whatever you're using it for, or if you're running or something, you have to create a different last to support that activity. How do you come up with a last?
You have to take care about you. You need to have ambassador testers that can help you on the development. You have to have an evolution on the last every second year. You can't keep the last as it is for the entire life.
So you're not using the same last today that you were 5 years ago? Even?
No.
Really?
For the last that you have used is the Nevada last, but it's different if we compare to the Nevada of 6 years ago, because there is an evolution. We are talking about millimeters, but it's really important. It's so important, a millimeter, that you do. And so we have we have to take care about the toe, to the ankle area, to the drop, because also drop is important.
In the arch.
Yeah, but also in the back, because when you are walking with a low heel, like running this morning, you can feel.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. So
if you're not used to some of that, and then, I noticed, that's what I wonder, like, how do you come up with that? And then you're changing it. How do you know where to change it? Is it up in the ankle? Is it down by the balls is it the heel, the arch, and everybody's foot so different sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a complicated thing.
Yeah. We have the foam that we use, like the BSS, is a special foam that adapts around your ankle area, and you really feel the benefit of wrapping the ankle, but also supporting the ankle. And is also protecting you. And that's one example. Coming back to the last, with the testers, we have the chance to develop a special last, for example, for climbing, for hunting, for hunting, that you need to walk for a long time, long approach. You need a comfortable last, precise, but has not to close
narrow,
too much.
Too close,
to close your foot too much. The climbing, for climbing or ice climbing, or the tracking, or the technical tracking, you need an asymmetric last with a special shape that permit you to be precise on the small insert in the stones. So you have to take care of what you are doing. That's an example talking about the different kind of lasts. We have last for telemark using, we have last for casual, we have last for military. We have different kind of last. How do you,
if you're saying that each last, depending on the specific use, is designed differently, how do you then? I mean, obviously, your the Crispi collection has, lifestyle, military, hunting, climbing, trekking. Do you influence design, or are you still, because you have different lasts, you can't necessarily take a mountaineering boot and use that for hunting very well?
Yeah, what we do is taking care about what is happening in the old niche that we have, I mean, like that you have mentioned, and sometimes we are able to cross the information we are getting from climbing, trekking, and put in hunting, and vice versa, because it's really a competitive advantage that we can have, because we are a unique company that can have so many niche boots and collection, that we are able to link the needs of one collection to the needs of another one, and we can be creative and also evolve the hunting, for example, in the direction of the trekking, because there are something that can be useful in this market.
Yeah, you were describing to me the rocker on the Nevada. I was asking, why do I like it so much? And
rocker is another important point. In the last, we have developed more than 15 years ago, and was not easy in the beginning, because few people was understanding the benefit. But right now we have the 70% of the collection that has this toe spring, the rocker. And this we have a pronunciated toe spring because in this way we can save the effort of the user.
Yeah, you were describing that because it kind of, the bottom, like the ball of the foot, the toe area kind of rocks up, that as you walk, you don't have to exert as much force against the boot to walk. It's a natural motion. It sort of helps spring you along, and so you don't get foot fatigue and leg fatigue the way you do with another boot that doesn't kind of assist with the process of walking.
You have a good stability, and then you flex less the foot, so you have less effort to put on the foot and on the insole.
Which seems like just a minute amount of energy that you're saving, but I suppose over
you add it up over
miles.
Think about how many
miles
miles
in a week of hard hunting.
Well, and when I'm walking, like I said, I can wear my Nevadas all day, every day for weeks. But in a day, I can hike 17 miles in a day and come back from that hike, and my feet don't hurt. I'm not dying to get them out of the boots. I'm tired because it's been a long hike, but it's not related to my foot or any fatigue there. It's such a efficient or comfortable hike, best I've ever had, where normally I would be getting my boots off, massaging my feet, have some fatigue, some soreness in my feet. And I don't experience that. And one thing when we were talking, I was asking you, cause I love the Summit. It breathes, it's synthetic, it's super lightweight, but I tend to go back to the Nevada. If I have to choose between the two, I tend to choose to use the Nevada when I have a really serious hike, or when I'm going someplace really remote, or I'm carrying a heavy load, over the Summit. And at first, I didn't feel that way. But the more and more I wore the Nevada, the more I tend to like it more. And I was asking you why that was the case, and you were describing how the leather
makes his part.
Yeah, the leather will shape to your foot and adjust and over time become even, it's comfortable the first time you put it on, but it gets better over time.
Yeah, it's like the last are the same. Nevada and Summit has the same last, but if we think about leather and synthetic has good features, like it's drying very fast, it's light, it's breathable. But the leather is shaping around your foot better than the synthetic material because it's natural. And you can treat it with the wax, and so it's shaping even better after the use. That's the main point. That's why leather is is an important point in our collection.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of companies move away from leather and stick to synthetic.
Why is that? Why do you think companies are moving away from?
No, I think that the leather must be, especially in hunting, must be part of the collection. Of course, synthetic is good; it's not bad, but is synthetic, so you don't have the same comfort and feeling that you can have the leather. And
it seems like with synthetic, it doesn't move on you. The material's the same from one piece to the next, where with leather, it's variable, because it's a natural fiber.
It's also easier to produce with the fabric instead of the leather.
Yeah, it's easier to. That's what I think. It's easier to build synthetic.
It's going to be the same every time.
It's going to be the same. You
an
can
animal
put it through,
that had a tough go of it.
Right. You don't have to hand make synthetic ones because you could just, tune the machine to cookie cutter the process. Yeah, makes sense.
There is a part that can take the fabric and a part that must have the leather. So I think that both are good in the market. But of course, if you're looking for breathability, the synthetic is better. I mean, the synthetic
or lightweight.
Talking about the fabric, not the synthetic like microfiber and so on. And but talking about the comfort, the leather is following your needs, your foot, and it's a must.
So with the leather, one thing, I've never put a drop of oil or wax on my boots, and they're pretty dang abused.
That's shameful.
and I noticed that over the last, 4 or 5 months, 6 months, they've started to shrink a lot, and then they stretch and they shrink, and there's more movement in the boot than there used to be. Can you explain that?
Yeah, that's leather is natural. We come back always to the same word. So the leather is shrinking because it becomes dry. You have to always to grease a bit. So eating the grease becomes comfortable again. It's like when you were using the soccer shoes. In the beginning, you were putting some water on in order that the leather was coming a little bit softer.
Yeah.
Because the beginning was really stiff. And all the time that you were wearing the soccer shoes, you should have the water beside, and so the leather was adapting on your foot. If it's drying too much or too fast or too many times, then becomes hard.
Yeah.
And so the comfort is not more the same. And then it can also break and collapse. So the treatment, the maintenance of the shoe is an important point during the entire life of the shoe.
My dad would do a lot of logging and stuff, and he would wear leather gloves, and he would get them wet, and wear them. And they would, and then over time, in a short time, they would shape to his hand, and then he took care of them, like he'd oil them and stuff a little bit. But so, what should I put on the boots?
We usually suggest to put grease, even if it's nubuck. Okay, it will become a bit darker, but the fat of the grease is helping a lot of the leather. And then after that, you can use the waterproof spray that can give a protection, because the spray usually is a protection that you can use on the boot, because it's creating a layer that take the dirt a little bit more outside. But the grease is one of the best solution. And with the fabric, you use only the spray.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we always look at in the United States. We always recommend that guys use a synthetic or water-based wax or grease.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, it is better. It both in interacting with the leather as well as allowing the leather still to breathe, not letting it crack out, crack or dry prematurely. And there are a lot of good products out there, but the two we really focus on is the cream that Crispi has developed. The waterproofing wax that we import from Italy, and then Nick Wax makes one that's a water-based product that's really good. Outside of those, like I said, if I'm using work gloves, I'll do something else. I'll use like a snow seal, for example. But on the boots, it's important to consider something that's not like a oil-based, but it's more natural or water-based.
Yeah. We need you need to use a synthetic wax also that helps the breathability.
Absolutely.
Because the natural used to be a little bit more close, so then you can sweat a bit more inside.
Now, how often are you usually doing a boot?
I usually every time that I'm every 3 days, we can say. If I use every day the boot, every 3 days I put the wax. If I'm using
I don't do that.
Yeah.
Every week,
I'm more like every 2 years.
Every week, I clean the boot before the night before my excursion.
Yeah.
And then I put before the excursion the spray, and then I go. Then I'll come back, I clean, I put the wax again.
Yeah, that's a lot more frequent than I personally do it too.
Yeah, I'm not very good about that. I'm going to work on that. Now that I'm lazy, man. I use my.
If you feel good with like you're doing, okay. But the important thing is that the boot should not break, but because it can break if you don't treat it.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to be the guy that buys a new truck and then puts dents in it within 1 year, and it looks like old. I mean, I beat things up, but that doesn't take much effort. And so we're gonna try to resurrect like the leather on my 2,000-mile Nevada.
We'll see what we can do. Yeah.
See, it's still it feels great. except when it shrinks.
And resole. I mean, we can do that.
Yeah, the sole's worn down to smooth.
Yeah, we do that in the United States. I mean, the same thing here. I mean, if you go downstairs, there's a rack of boots that they're getting back for some sort of reason, or other people are having, they do the resoling here in the United States. We do that with Gary's Shoes there in Utah, and Luca and Federico met with those guys, and
yeah, we met the last time.
Yeah, it's a good process, and we're continually
really
working with those guys. But
okay,
but that's none of us. I don't think there's very many of us that take care of our boots to that degree.
No,
we get lazy. But imagine buying, like the Sitka cold front jacket. It's a $600 Gore-Tex jacket. You're probably going to be, most people like myself. I'm pretty attentive to my hunting clothing. Going to wash it every once in a while and take care of it. But sometimes, I don't know, for some reason we let our boots just get the brunt of everything.
Yeah, I need to, but that's something I want to take more care on, because now that honestly, no offense, but when Kendall first gave me the boots, I was highly skeptical, and I didn't think they were going to be very good. And so then I used the boots a lot, and now it's like I actually wanted to see, how well they would hold up, and I put them to the test, and they're, now I feel really good about, encouraging people to get a pair of Crispis. They're incredible. So, but in the beginning, I didn't think they'd last very long, or that I'd like them that much. And even when I first put them on, Kendall was in my yard at my house in Oregon, actually. Yeah. And I put them on, and I walked around, and I was like, I'll try them out for you, Kendall, but I'm warning you, I'm not a big fan of most boots. I don't like boots too much. I feel like they're not, they're always uncomfortable, and they take too long to break in. And I had a lot of reasons for being skeptical, and as it turns out, I was wrong.
What's funny is I remember when you put those on, and I was like, maybe we should go inside so that if you don't like them, they're not all dirty.
Yeah.
And you started walking around the yard. I was like, whatever. Like, if he doesn't like them, we'll find somebody that can wear them. But I remember your hesitation.
And then I put them on. I'm like, oh, these feel good. These feel great.
I didn't sense that from your
I didn't want to get his hopes up.
Your initial reaction.
I didn't want to get his hopes up.
We'll see.
And then as I wore them more, and then I thought, well, they're too comfortable. They probably won't be very good in use. They'll not be stiff enough or have the support. And I was wrong on that as well. They had the support and maintain the comfort and all of that and the stability. And so, it turned out pretty, to be a good thing. So it was very, very, informative to come here, look at, the process, to meet the family, to get to know, the Crispi vision a little more, and to see Italy and just to see for myself, sort of the way people are here, makes me appreciate Italy far more than I ever did before. Just all the artistry and the way that people take, even down to the food. I mean, the food is like unreal. Every place you go, it's awesome, and everything on the menu tastes good. And it's like it's made. There's no corners that are cut. It's all made to like levels of perfection. Like, people take the time to create a meal here in a way that we don't take in the United States. No. We just don't take the time to make, to build things.
Not as consistently.
No. There are people who do.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not a blanket statement, but culturally, this is different here in Italy. It's a special place. So I want to thank you for having me. Anything you want to add before we close?
Thank you to be here, first of all, because it has been really a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your words, your phrase talking about also Italy, not only about us. Thank you very much. And I'm now leaving. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
I leave you to continue the interview.
Yes.
And
thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you, Kendall.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, Federico. Thank you. All right, Kendall. You want to tell the folks anything you want to close with?
No.
Good.
Yeah. Like I'd be curious to know just your impressions.
Yeah.
From when you first got here. I mean, coming into Italy, coming into Crispi, the factory. Because I remember my first time.
I thought,
and then what I went away with.
just expected it to be much larger, right?
Sure.
And then to see that it's so like I don't know. I pictured a production line and these machines and all this. I just
insert leather here and
right.
boots pop out.
And boots pop out like, and it's not like that at all. It's very much a manual process mixed with high tech machinery and just to see how each step of the way there's so much detail with each step of building a boot. And then that's just the building, but what about the design? Like that whole thing baffles me. There's just so much that goes into that process. And then you're going to build the boot and bring it to life. It's a whole different process. And that's after you've already figured out how you're going to build it. I mean, just again, the design process is, with from the last all the way to the materials put into it. And we, saw, some of the stitching materials that they use that have Kevlar in it when we were down there.
Yeah.
And they have new materials that they've come out with. And he was showing, the indestructibility of this.
It's unbelievable. I was shocked. Like just having, think of Kevlar, you're like, oh, it stops bullets. It should outlast like.
Right. And that thread was phenomenal after what they put it through. But then the new stuff that they have that they're putting into production it's unreal. And
yeah, you heard Federico when he said the first time they did the test, he's like, something's definitely wrong with this.
Yeah.
The test.
Something's not, yeah.
So he personally went down there and said, like, I want to see you test it. And then they tested it and he said, something seriously must be wrong with the machine and tested it a third time and said, holy smokes, like this.
It's a new product, a new material.
And they're trying to abrade, give enough abrasion that it should destroy. I mean, the thread in our shirts would be like toast in our
right. And then to see them continually coming up with new products, new materials, and new designs, it's just a cool thing. The other thing was the family, meeting the whole family, spending time with them. They're all very down to earth. One thing I feel with Italy is that mostly everyone is very easygoing, polite, kind, and open. At least where we're at, and maybe it's in the country. We'll go to Rome and check out some stuff before we go home on this trip. But I think there's more. It's a cool place.
Maybe it could be said the countryside, is a little more open and friendly,
welcoming.
But then, even my experience, I've been to Venice 3 times now, and some other places here in Italy. Each time we come over, I try and add a couple days or a day just to experience something. And it's the people are generally helpful, happy.
When we were on a run today, we were coming back from the run, and there was a field trip of kids, like, I don't know, maybe first graders.
Yeah, they looked young.
Second graders or something. And we're walking by, and every kid's like, hello, hi, just saying.
Every kid. It was like a chorus of kids.
Yeah, and everyone, they were all so friendly, and the teachers, and it was like, I was telling Kendall, I'm like, that was weird, man, because in the States, the teachers would be like, don't talk to those strangers, and stuff. And,
like, come over on the other side of the walkway.
In general, it's just
don't make eye contact.
Yeah, it's not like as open and friendly and welcoming. Like it's just a little different. It was unique, and I didn't know if it was because of the countryside and just where we're at, because I'm sure it varies. You go down to different places in the U.S., you're going to have a different local feel. But man, here it's pretty cool.
Any other impressions or thoughts as you're wrapping up your time with Crispi? Things that surprised you,
how long people work here. You know, I think it's funny too because downstairs there's like definitely women's jobs and men's jobs in the production line.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's no men sewing anything. It was all the gals, and then over when they're finishing up the boots, you know, it's all the ladies, and then
Putting
over
the final
here,
touches
yeah,
on.
over at these other spots, it's all the guys, and there's like definitely a culture of, you know, this is what the ladies are good at, and this is what the guys are good at, and no one's complaining about, you know, equal opportunity. So,
yeah, no, there isn't a guy lined up to. What he said is the lacing of the boots. He goes, you saw his hands.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd been working here 23, 25 years. His hands are ginormous, and he's trying to lace the boots up. But
yep. I just think that the boots themselves are very, the way they vary from boot to boot and how the lasts are built. That is all a good education. You know, how the Gore-Tex works, how the waterproof membrane works. It's all very, very educational. So
awesome.
That's it.
Okay,
all right.
man.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Stay gritty. Stay gritty, folks. And,
stay gritty in Italy.
Yeah. Check out those boots on, Black Ovis. There's a bunch of, other locations where you can,
we've got dealers all over.
Dealers.
A few online. All the Shields locations, if you happen to have a Shields near you.
Yep. And there's you have a lot of new stuff coming up that you're bringing in. So
a few changes to a few different models. Mostly changes this year.
Yeah.
As you saw, we talked about next year's product, and we're already working on those things.
Yep. That's it. Let's check it out, folks.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. Give me a review. Give us a review on iTunes.
Or Stitcher. That's where I hang out.
I never ask for those, but it does help. It does help to have support from the audience go in and leave us reviews on those platforms, whichever one you prefer, or on YouTube even.
Yeah, don't be stingy. Give a review.
All right.
So I'm just going to go over a few different ways of lacing your boots, different things to think about. Sometimes you need to step out of the box, I guess you could say. Brian was just commenting, every set of boots I have, which is many, I lace them all a little bit different. So I was talking about stepping outside of the box. On my right boot, and I have very finicky feet, I skip one of the laces. I know I have good calves, but they're white. So on my left boot, I lace it standard, right? I pull it tight at the bottom. I crisscross here. These are semi-locking, and I just lace it the rest of the way up. Now with this boot, I actually skip this lace. What I end up doing is kind of just pinch that into place, and I lace it the rest of the way up where this one's locked into place right here. Now what that boils down to is I get heel rub with this boot. My right foot's always been prone to that. When I lock into this, it pushes my heel back at whatever position too much to where I get heel pressure, which ends up being a blister. When I skip that lace, no heel rub whatsoever. I just crisscross that right in the middle, and I just lace them up. Now, that's one way to potentially fix the problem. I know a lot of guys, me being one, on my left foot, and I've got really goofy feet. Out here, I don't know if I got a bone spur or what I've got going on, but on the outside, there's a tendon or something that rubs. And if my boot, even though it may feel like it's fit correctly, and maybe it is, but I get these knife shooting pains down here. Now, one of the reasons I like this boot on the Brickstall, I don't get that. But what I've had to do on a couple of my other sets of boots is skip this lace. That way I don't get the pressure pinching down on here. It's not like there's a rule book to lacing your footwear. You don't have to hit every lace. I've got a pressure point. I'll skip that. Now, one of the other things you can do with talking about locking laces, a lot of guys had commented on that Thor that this wasn't a locking lace. Caitlin has the Thor on here. It's semi-locking, and you can actually, if you wanted to pinch it with a Leatherman, you could make it locking even more. But just because a boot doesn't have a locking system on it doesn't mean you can't make it lock. What you can do is just double it up, and you can pull it in twice. The other thing you can do, and I'll take these off completely, is you can crisscross below and then double this up once it's in place. Double that up right there, or double it up down below. Up here works better for me. When I crisscross over, I basically wrap it twice around, almost like I was going to tie a square knot or something. And then that keeps it from sliding. You can also double lace it here. Now, a lot of my boots, I double lace certain sections, so I don't have a specific way that I do it because it changes with every boot. But this boot's a little bit higher, the Brickstall. It's got basically an extra lace or an extra inch on it, or half inch. But when I lace my boots, if I have an actual real live locking lace right here, which is where it kind of plants into your heel cup, locks it back, I'll pull that in tight and lock it. But when I get to my next lace, I'll actually double the next two up. So meaning I'll lock, double it, and then I double this one as well. All that does, and if you start doubling up on each eyelet when you lace your boots up, all you'll notice is you're not retightening your boots. You may be loosening them when your foot swells, but you're not retightening. So if you want to double these up, it'll just keep your boot laces from potentially slipping. The other thing that a lot of people don't think about, I see guys, and this is a military thing, I see guys relace these. Give me one sec. All right. They lace them up, right? I'm doing a piss poor job of explaining this so far. But you get to the top, you got this big rabbit ear, right? Hangs up on everything. You're going to come untied no matter what. Cut these bad boys off once you figure out the lacing system you like. And don't tie a bow tie. Don't tie rabbit ears. Tie a square knot. It comes back out. You don't need the tail. When I want to untie it, I just get my fingernail in there and it comes loose. And you don't have to worry about it getting hung up on brush or rhododendrons or whatever you're dealing with, like it will with the bunny ears. So I'll do it again. A square knot will make sure they won't come untied. Now, if you're doing backpack cardio and you need a reason to stop, I would tie bunny ears, because if they see you got a square knot, they know you're lying. So I get this laced up, and you tie the regular overhand. And what you want to make sure is when you lock it, crisscross it back over, they're running into the same position, so you can kind of push, and it's just basically two overhands or two, I'm losing my terminology. I can't remember how this, but either way, I can tie it, and it won't ever come untied that way. That's a good thing to do, especially, again, when you have a lot of underbrush to deal with. Now, another thing that you can do, especially if you ever need to get out of flex cuffs, is pop your boot lace off completely and use reflective guy line. As funny as this sounds, yeah, I haven't really needed to find my boots, but reflective guy line has a little bit more texture to it, and it'll lock into these laces a little bit better, so it won't slide as easy. Now, if you ever have flex cuffs on, if you're ever in a position where somebody takes a zip tie and zip ties your hands together, completely off the subject, but what you do, make sure it happens in front of you. Unloosen this lace completely. Run your boot lace around the zip tie. Tie it back to this, and you're going to basically just work your leg back and forth, and then it'll burn through that zip tie in no time at all, 30 seconds to come out of flex cuffs or zip ties if you're ever tied up. It's the added benefit of running a reflective guy line. Something to think about. Anyway, so now the next thing to think about or custom insoles, orthotics, super feet, Soleil insoles, whatever. When you buy a boot, again, think outside of the box. If you buy the boot and it's a little loose, let's say, maybe not, I'm not talking about width, but height, volume. When you go to tighten the boot laces up and all of a sudden this portion here is touching. This happens on Kinetrex a lot as they stretch. If the boot fits great, but that might happen, find an insole with a little bit more volume. It's not going to help a whole lot, but that'll take some volume up. I know a lot of guys that actually will take a cheap insole, and then they'll put their good insole over that if they need to take up a little bit more volume. Now, what you can also do is if you're going to run really thick socks certain times of the year, that will take up the volume. So if this makes any sense, when you're wearing a really thin, lightweight sock, you can double up the insoles, meaning a really lightweight, cheap pair, and then a super foot or super feet over the top of that. And then when you go into cold weather, you're wearing a really thick sock, pull that other one out. You don't need it anymore because the sock's taking up the volume. Now, for me, I don't wear a really thick sock. I used to. I don't now. It's a half cushion. It's cushioned on the bottom. It's paper thin. It's really thin on top.
I don't wear a thick sock anymore either. I used to, but I find that I'm more prone to blisters and hot spots.
And that's what happens. Brian's exactly right. Your foot sweats, which is prone to blisters. Now, as far as I have a custom orthotic now, and most of my boots, this dude I met at the arch range, he's a super cool guy. He took care of me on that. The thing is, though, is you want an insole with arch support. In my opinion, what comes with the general boots nowadays doesn't have much arch support. The top coating on most insoles nowadays also doesn't have a lot of shear resistance for hot spots when you're side hilling. So you want to make sure that top coat does very well with shear resistance, basically, so you don't get hot spots. Now, as you're kind of working your way through all footwear problems, when you're trying to test out a boot over the internet, so to speak, meaning you're asking questions about, hey, is this boot any good? The problem that you run into with that is you're only going to find out if the boot's durable. You're not going to find out if the boot fits your foot. And you're also only going to find out if it's a guy may tell you it is durable, it is a good boot, but it's going to be good for what he does, and what he is going to be doing may be completely different than what you're doing. So you want to make sure you're getting good advice. Now, when it comes to footwear, a very good example, a Salomon Quest 4D is a great example of a boot that I would suggest no one to buy. It's a comfortable boot. A lot of people like it. It leaks like a sieve, and it's not the most durable in the world. I wear Salomon tennis shoes. I got nothing against Salomon. That boot specifically I've seen fail many times, and I've never found one that doesn't actually leak out of the box. And from what I've seen. And people suggest that boot frequently. Maybe run Antelope, it'll be great. I've used it before, it just leaked. So you want to make sure that you're not only getting advice about durability, but you're testing out the boot, if at all possible, before you order it. Because a lot of times a guy will suggest a boot, and I've stopped doing it. I suggest boots to guys all the time. They get it. They don't like the stiffness. They don't like the fit or whatever. So that's really difficult, and you start wrapping a lot of money into it. I will say you want to kind of find out ahead of time if you like a stiff or flexible or mid-range boot. I've suggested stiff boots to guys, and they hate them. Brian doesn't like a stiff boot. I personally, I do. I really like a stiff boot, but it's personal preference. There's no right or wrong. It's just what's right or wrong for you, I guess. So I think I've pretty much covered everything I wanted to as far as the footwear thing. I guess if you have any more questions, throw them up. I'm not by any means a podiatrist, although I did have one get me some custom insoles the other day. Maybe he'll chime in. Just make sure you always take care of your feet, change out your socks, wear some type of synthetic sock. Aftermarket insole would be best. And if you ever get cotton flex cuffs, make sure that you learn how to get out of that.
Yeah. I would say, A-aron, the way you lace your boots is a little different than the way I do it. The socks you wear, your system's slightly different than mine. But I think you nailed it. The point is find out what works for your foot. Play with your lacing. Guys try on a pair of boots and they're like, yeah, it doesn't work. I'm like, well, you've tried them on without the right pairs of socks, or maybe an insole, or maybe you haven't laced it quite right. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's something I think a lot of guys struggle with, and it's actually a system that you work out through experimentation.
What Brian brought up a very good point. When you go to try on a pair of boots, and this is one of those pet peeve things, wear the socks that you're going to be wearing with boots on. Don't wear socks you're wearing with your tennis shoes and then go. And if you wear custom orthotics or aftermarkets, bring them with you. No one at any shoes, nobody's ever going to bug you about sticking your custom. They want to sell a boot, right? So bring them with you. Throw them in the boot, try them on that way so it's apples to apples. Because, any lift in the heel a little bit from a custom orthotic could make or break the deal, if that makes any sense. It might help, might hurt. So you want to make sure and have that stuff with you when you go try on a set of boots. But I think that's it. You got anything else?
Nope. I'm good, man. Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place and time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals and the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.